May call to order this meeting of the Plain Township Board of Trustees for Tuesday, October 13th. If everybody will stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Before us, we have our agenda. Are there any additions, deletions, or corrections by fellow board members or department heads at this time?
None from me.
I would like to add something under communications, a thank you.
I'm going to add under new business number 5, Mark Gursky. Is there anything else? Chief?
I'm not sure on mine, it doesn't have number 12 for the resignation of part-time employee.
Michael J. Henkel.
Is that if it's on?
Yeah.
Is it after there or not?
Any other? The agenda will stand as amended. First item this evening is the sheriff's report. I'm going to turn that over to Lieutenant Carver.
Good evening. You have before you the September 2020 monthly report. Calls for service 1,358, 42 crashes, 10 crashes with injury, 70 alarms, 177 traffic stops with 79 citations, 152 arrests, 55 vacation checks. For the detective, 15 cases assigned, 1 robbery, 1 receiving stolen property, 1 vandalism, 3 motor vehicle thefts were closed. Move to the next page, comparing 2019 to 2020. And go to the last page, just comparison back to 2015. And again, you see that steady progression of the calls for service moving up as staffing increased. The interesting thing, kind of looking at this time 2018, this time 2019, and this time in 2020, although those 3 years we were pretty much up at full staffing. As we looked at some of the months in 2019 when we saw some big increases, there were a few months in 2019 that were a little bit of an anomaly. So just kind of trying to compare those 3 years, I think we're holding fairly steady. Comparing 2020 to anything, it was just kind of a little bit of an oddball thing. So many different factors going into it. Holding steady there. We're just still trying to get those traffic stops backed up. With all the COVID changes and things like that, and everything that's involved there, kind of been all over the ballpark. Again, even looking at September of 2019, we had over 500 traffic stops, and that's not what we've been consistently seeing. We've been in that 2 to 350. So looking at last year, we may have had a checkpoint in the township, and depending on who was running traffic areas and things, sometimes that pushes that number up. So everything running about where we would expect.
Any questions? Anybody in the audience have anything for the sheriff? Okay, thank you.
Thanks, sir.
Okay, nothing on our unfinished business. It's going to take us to new business. Ms. Campbell.
Thank you. Item number 1 is a resolution based upon advice of council and our own research and understanding of the coronavirus relief funding to make the following motion to authorize payment to Baker, Dubakar, Beck, Wiley, and Matthews for our legal opinions rendered in regards to the COVID CARES Act.
I will so move.
Second.
Discussion. Roll call.
Mr. Hawes?
Yes.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
Mrs. Harless?
Yes.
Item number 2 is a resolution, again, based upon advice of council and our own research and understanding of the coronavirus relief funding to authorize payment to RGF Environmental Group for the installation and purchase of UV filtration systems for each of the following locations in regards to the COVID CARE Act, and the amount not to exceed $16,150 from Fund 14A04B.
I will so move.
Second.
Discussion.
I'd like to thank Chief Schadelberger for his help with this. He reached out to the RGF group, and then we had them evaluate each of our locations, and you'll see the breakdown of the locations. But this is a system that goes inside of the heating system that uses the UV lighting to filter out.
This is actually very similar or comparable technology to Steramist from the aspect of the ionization with the high percentage hydrogen peroxide and how with the electrical arcing and creating the destabilized molecule that then binds itself and essentially kills bacteria and virus. So.
And Scott, you had gotten us onto this technology also, and we were just finally able to locate who does it. We're using the same group that installed it at the county, and it's a very good use of that COVID CARES funding.
Do you have any further discussion on that? Roll call?
Mr. Hawes?
Yes.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
Mrs. Harless?
Yes.
Thank you. Item number 3 is a resolution to authorize payment to Ohio Beauty Cut Stone for the Northern Blue Vein Limestone, also the logo stone with artwork, and for the Gateway Identification Project in accordance with the mini master plan, not to exceed $14,610 from Fund 01B02.
I'm so enthusiastic we move on that one.
Second.
Discussion. I think this was our prior master plan as well as this one. It wasn't achieved in the first or the last one. Just, I mean, timing, resources, other priorities and efforts, but you know, maybe for the public to understand who may be watching this at a later date or in attendance tonight, you know, you see the city of North Canton, they've got gateway markers, brick pillars. You see the city of Canton, they've got different gateway markers, typically some signage. As big as Plain Township is, being one of the top 3 largest in Stark County, I mean, where's Plain Township at? And no offense, I think we, I safe to say most of us in here get a little impassioned about, no, it's not North Canton, it's Plain Township. No, it's not the city, it's Plain Township. So this will really start to help, you know, drive some of that further awareness. And I think the plan that we've got in place, from a pricing aspect, nobody's going to touch. So, any further comments?
I'm excited to see it go up and see how it turns out.
And we're trying to do still 4
For this year, and we're doing them internally
Yeah.
with Adam Farley,
Yeah.
which is excellent with stone.
So we just need to finalize those
Yeah.
locations. Okay. No further discussion. Roll call, please.
Mr. Hawes?
Yes.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
Mrs. Harless?
Yes.
Thank you. And item number 4, I'll turn over to the Parks Director.
Thank you. Item number 4 is a resolution from the Plain Township Board of Trustees to authorize payment of work to be done by North Star Asphalt Inc. at the Bennington Community Park West parking lot in an amount not to exceed $49,480 and taken from Fund 01B02 and to be reimbursed by the Stark Trust Wayne Joint Solid Waste District Management's grant, 2020 program startup grant.
I'll make the motion.
Second.
Discussion. Roll call.
Mrs. Harless?
Yes.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
Mr. Hawes?
Yes. Last item that was added on new business is Mark Gursky we have here tonight. I added him on the front end. Mr. Gursky, I asked that you state your name and your address for the fiscal officer for the record, and then you can go ahead and present.
Okay, Mark Gursky, Gursky. My address is 216 Brook Point Street Northwest.
Thank you.
I can just show you a picture. Okay, this is my backyard. I removed 3 pine trees.
I'll step back so she can.
Yeah. So I cut all the branches off. I cut up the stumps or dug them out. Anyway, I brought the branches over to the recycle, but I brought them in a work truck.
What kind of work vehicle was it?
Okay, so that's the issue, is this is one truck. It's a 250
3/4 ton.
3/4 ton. The only thing that it violation or is the name on the side. Other than that, the truck meets the requirements. This is my personal truck. But if I came through with that wouldn't meet either because it's a commercial vehicle.
light commercial plates?
Yes. And it's listed as a company vehicle. So I've been using this one.
I would tell you, I mean, to me, and these two have theirs. To me, commercial plates doesn't necessarily indicate commercial activity, and the basis that I'm telling you that on is I've worked on a dairy farm where we've pulled cattle and horse trailers, and technically they have to have commercial plates based upon the weight that's pulled. So
Okay.
just for that, it shouldn't, digress to. The big thing that we look at, I think I can speak for the board, is the commercially marked vehicles. That's really where the interpretation. So that being said,
I brought the branches over. I called the office first thing in the morning on Friday, September 25th, and explained to them what I was going to do. They said that I needed to talk to Eric. I left my name and number, and he didn't get back to me. I brought a load over early afternoon, and then I brought another load over later in the afternoon. Eric was here and told me that I couldn't dump, that I was in violation of the dumping, but I wasn't commercially dumping. I was bringing debris from my own yard. So I gave him a hard time. I did unload it and left, and I got a citation Sunday morning. The sheriff came at 7-something to my house in the morning and issued me a citation for $500. And I just wanted to appeal that.
well, I think as a backdrop, do you have any other points to add just before?
Not unless you have any questions for me. And I did stop in on Monday, which would have been the 28th, apologize to Eric for giving him a hard time, and then ask what the appeal process, how it's handled, and they said it had to be done through council. And that's when I called you, and then you had said that you need...
You'd have to come in.
Right.
Not one of us individually can't say.
Correct. So that's why I'm here tonight.
All right. Well, do you want to start with the comments, John? or
Well,
do you-
first of all, there is history behind the commercial process. So I don't want to spend a lot of time talking about the logistics of our dump site, but we have to be very cautious of the amount generated based on, and the type of material coming in. So we took some of our requirements from our old process of when anybody could come in down there. I think we're a little bit better off now that we have the ability to at least follow up on and research our current rules. So commercial dumping was all based on, and you can appreciate the fact that if I see something Gursky on the side, and I see a whole bunch of debris, my first question is,
Where did I get it?
exactly. So we have to have a process that basically eliminates the fact that you're going to do something on a job site and say, I have a perfect place to unload that. For $25 a year, I can take it there. And I can be honest with you, that's what the three of us don't want to happen.
Okay.
Because it's not fair to all the other residents who are paying $25 to be able to get there. So, based on that, we're going to issue citations immediately on any issue. And you're not the first to appear here, and you're not going to be the last. So, this whole process we've gone through before. But we have to issue the citations first and then go through this process to see what actually did happen. Because we have no way of knowing to tell the people that are going to be doing the citations, hey, just listen to the guy's story, and if you believe him, don't give him one. We would rather, we're going to issue the citation, and then we're going to listen to all this in the appeal, okay? So, from a commercial truck standpoint, and I'll just throw this out, this is my opinion. If we have a resident that paid $25 for a car to use their waste drop-off site, and they can prove that that debris that they brought in came from their property, I'm okay with the appeal. I'm just letting you know that. I'm okay with the appeal. But they're still going to get a citation initially, because we have no way of knowing where that came from. So what I'm trying to say is, everybody in the process did the right thing, okay? Because that's the only way we have to validate and verify where did this debris actually come from. So that's just my opinion. I'll let you guys speak to that.
I'm on the same page as John, as long as we have validated it. See, not commercial dumping.
I've partially shared mine. Just for the record, I was a little bit pissed off when I heard about it at first, just because Eric did tell me, and stories match up, that, you know, you were clearly frustrated that day, was my assumption. He had indicated to me that he'd offered up reference to the lake site, but then he did indicate that you said the next day you'd come back in and apologized over it directly to him. Taking that into account, and honestly balancing it against, we had, what were the last two? One was a dump trailer.
Yes.
With a light, and then I forget what the other one was.
Kids moving.
Well, we've had people using other people's cards. I mean,
In short,
yeah.
a couple of, I would just leave it at this. I can be in concurrence with these two as well, but what I would say moving forward, as long as it's your yard waste and it's not the neighbors, it's not for somebody else, that's fine. That's fine in my aspect. So, I mean, that being said, and just to bring this to a close, I want to make sure I'll make it's not necessarily a motion, but
I don't think we've done that
I'll
before.
just simply say that, hey, the Board of Trustees is in agreement that Mr. Mark Gursky's appeal of his yard waste drop-off fine of $500 is going to be waived. Is that?
Yeah, I think you do want to make a formal motion, just because you're all three going to need to vote.
But the question is, did we do it with the prior ones? I guess that's why I'm.
Yeah.
I don't remember what.
I think we just
Yeah.
waived them. That's the only reason
Yeah.
I'm.
I think it's best practice to do
Oh,
Okay.
it.
I would agree with that.
So then I'll verbally follow up on that, or do you need me to re-say any of it?
No, you're good.
Yeah,
All right, to waive the $500 one-time fee, or fine, yeah, not fee,
Yeah.
fine, sorry. Yeah, and it's with the understanding that Mr. Gursky has expressed his regrets over the misunderstanding, has reasonably explained and displayed the vehicle in question in the debris.
And I will second it.
We got a second, Brooke. Any further discussion? Roll call.
Mr. Sabo?
yes.
Mr. Hawes?
Yes.
Mrs. Harless?
Yes.
So for Mr. Gursky's, it's waived, not, he can technically just shred it, or do we need
Sure.
to?
No, he can
All
just.
right.
So then the
What
second
about the
question is
sheriff?
his card.
I
Department.
still have, the card's still good, because I drove through to check.
Oh,
What about with the
you were
sheriff
fortunate.
department? In the citation?
Well, no, I
Yeah,
drove
usually-
through right yesterday.
Yeah.
Citation with the sheriff department.
Usually we
Or
shut the
that
card
was
off
Friday.
So, yeah. Yeah, it's usually twofold. Citation, shut the card off until we sort it all out. So your card's still working. You're good to go.
And then as far, I cannot use I can use my personal truck, but not
Yeah,
the
I would-
lettered one?
Well, at the end of the day, I would strongly prefer, as I think the board would, use the one that's the unmarked truck. If you have some, say,
I would agree with that.
mechanical issue that prohibits you from using that, your township president would just note it, but Eric, who oversees the site, I mean, he takes great pride in this. I mean, And as much as it seems like he's very stern about it, and he is, because that's what the board expects, it's helped us nip some, like, real bad dumping of like building material type stuff back there. And that's not your situation, but, you know, the board with the parameters that we've dealt with, you know, and setting this up, it's the first year, you know, on our own outside the Joint Solid Waste District, where we had to be a lot more laxed under their guidance and what we accepted. But, you know, for the record, the preference would be that I get they're both your vehicles, you know, but the one that's unmarked / personal use, that would be the preference.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome.
Thank you.
Thanks.
That concludes new business. Fiscal Officer's report. Mr. Wolf.
Thank you. Fiscal Officer number 1 is a request for resolution to authorize the payment of pending warrants in the amount of $316,493.43.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Roll call.
Mr. Hawes?
Yes.
Mrs. Harless?
Yes.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
Fiscal Officer number 2 is a request for resolution to authorize payment of regular payroll in an amount not to exceed $250,000.
I will move on fiscal officer number 2.
Second.
No, go ahead, I'm sorry. I was
Yeah,
sure
slide.
something was going on.
You guys have to shut the door. No, because that's what they're distracted to.
I don't think you're talking about stumps.
Yeah, he's just reinforcing those stumps.
Yeah.
No further discussion. Roll call.
Mr. Hawes?
Yes.
Mrs. Harless?
Yes.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
Fiscal Officer number 3 is request for resolution to authorize payment for the following medical claims.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Roll call.
Mr. Hawes?
Yes.
Mrs. Harless?
Yes.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
Fiscal Officer number 4 is the financial report for September.
Anybody has any questions, feel free to see Tom afterwards.
Fiscal Officer number 5 is a request for resolution to authorize the Plain Township Fiscal Officer to enter into an UAN participation agreement with the Auditor of State and to authorize payment of a monthly user fee of $325 and a monthly hardware surcharge of $50 for each participant payable to the Ohio Auditor of State, taken from Fund 01A26C.
I will so move. Brooks, second. Discussion. This has been a long time coming for the most part, because I know when you had come on as fiscal officer, I think your predecessor had chosen a system just beforehand. It wasn't exactly well thought out, but you also didn't want to put the staff right through another transition and see how it would work. But there's probably some of our annual audit reporting and searching where this will help. So
with their current system, there has been issues with the way the reports generate, and they're not in the format that the auditor likes to see. And now the software company has stopped supporting what we're using now, so they're kind of forced into switching. But the UAN has really good reviews and good internal controls, so it should be a strong system once we get over the initial learning curve.
So we're going to add just in advance that there's plenty of patience with the department heads with the fiscal office once that transition takes place, just due to the
It's going to be a lot of work.
nuances and so forth. Okay. Any further discussion? Roll call.
Mr. Hawes?
Yes.
Mrs. Harless?
Yes.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
Fiscal Officer number 6 is a request for resolution to authorize a refund as follows for overpayment for EMS as requested by Ohio Billing.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Roll call.
Mr. Hawes?
Yes.
Mrs. Harless?
Yes.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
Fiscal Officer number 7A is a request for resolution to request an additional amended certificate of estimated resources from the Stark County Auditor for $212,919.47 and to appropriate these funds as follows.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Roll call.
Mr. Hawes?
Yes.
Mrs. Harless?
Yes.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
Fiscal Officer number 7B is a request for resolution to authorize, or to request an additional amended certificate of estimated resources from the Stark County Auditor for $1,237,792.03 and to appropriate these funds as follows.
I will move on Fiscal Officer 7B.
I will second.
Discussion. This is just a follow-up to what the state legislature passed here a week or two ago.
Correct, yeah, this is our third disbursement for the CARES Act money from the federal government.
Again, can't stress enough based upon at least what discussions we've had individually and collectively with department heads and so forth. Plain Township businesses, please seek us out if you have COVID-related expenses. I can't stress it enough. You know, as much as I'm fiscally conservative, and this is typically, hey, if you don't need it, you send it back. This unfortunately is one of those where it's the bad incentive of larger government, and that if we don't use it, it goes back to the county and it's going to get dispersed, so we're still on the hook for it at the end of the day.
Right.
So would much rather prefer to see us maximize that, not just within our township operations, but amongst the township and the businesses. So, you know, I think every encounter that we've got with any type of township business, you know, even if there's a chance that they've already heard this before, let's make sure we're reminding them of this grant dollar. And, you know, of course, I know from the ones I've been talking to that, you know, even today, over a lunch appointment up at Pucker's, oh, somebody already beat you to the punch. Well, I had sent them a message, and they were already working with Lisa, but it's better to have that conversation and know they've been told and they're working through it than, wow, I wish I would have known about that. Too little,
Right.
too little, too late. So, that being said, any further discussion? Roll call.
Mr. Hawes?
Yes.
Mrs. Harless?
Yes.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
Fiscal Officer number 8 is a request for resolution to authorize the following transfers of expenses to the Coronavirus Relief Fund.
I will. Motion, Brooke. I'll second. Discussion. Roll call.
Mr. Hawes?
Yes.
Mrs. Harless?
Yes.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
Fiscal Officer number 9 is a request for resolution to authorize the following transfers.
I'll move on Fiscal Officer number 9.
Second. Discussion. Roll call.
Mr. Hawes?
Yes.
Mrs. Harless?
Yes.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
That concludes the Fiscal Officer report.
Tom, it's going to take us back to the administrator, Ms. Campbell.
Thank you. Item number 1 is a resolution to continue the governmental electric aggregation program with opt-out provisions pursuant to section 4928.20 of the Ohio Revised Code, allowing myself to execute an electric supply agreement with Energy Harbor.
I will so move on administrator number 1.
Second.
Discussion.
Sorry.
No, go ahead.
Yep, I was just going to say, this is something that is coming up for renewal in 2021, and we do use independent energy consultants to solicit proposals, and they do it as a group. So all of those going out at the same time with us, that way we have group purchasing. And electric is at an all-time low and trading at an all-time low, and they were able to secure for us a longer-term agreement, 4 years. There is no way that any individual will shop and be able to get a lower rate than what we're offering in this contract, especially for a fixed rate for a 48-month term. So it was the overall lowest pricing, and that's again why we want to lock in for the 4 years. Anybody who is in the electric aggregation, it's going to be a seamless transition for them. And it again is an opt-out type of thing. So if somebody's in and for some reason they want to opt out, there's no reason why they can't. I mean, they can't do that. So all of our residents have to, by law, receive the opt-out letters. So I think it may create a little confusion in January because they haven't done this for a number of years, but just refer any calls to me. They, again, are locking in a historically low rate
And
with this
just-
offer.
And to build off of that, the public just needs to be reminded, this was a ballot initiative
Yes,
years back that they voted on. So this is not the Board of Trustees
No.
imposing upon the Plain Township public
no,
some program. This was put before our electorate and a majority voted.
yeah, and it's PUCO certified.
Yeah.
So it's a really, really great rate.
Any further discussion?
I just have one quick question, Lisa. You mentioned the 4-year agreement, and I couldn't quite find where that was spelled out as I was reviewing this.
In the contract?
Yeah, can we talk about that tomorrow, since you're the one that's going to be
Yeah, it is
executing?
a 48-month term as long as we turn it in by the 16th.
Okay,
So, yeah, we can take a look at it.
okay, great.
So by
Yeah.
30, is that Thursday or Friday?
Friday.
It's Friday.
16th is Friday, yeah.
Yep.
All right. Perfect. Any further discussion? Roll call.
Mr. Hawes?
Yes.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
Mrs. Harless?
Yes.
Thank you. Item number 2 is a resolution to authorize payment to Canton Data Print for printing and postage of the 2020 Plain Township Fall Newsletter.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Roll call.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
Mr. Hawes?
Yes.
Mrs. Harless?
Yes.
Item number 3 is a resolution to authorize payment to Red Diamond Uniform in the amount not to exceed $8,144.44 for uniforms to change into after transporting COVID patients, and to authorize payments from the attached fund. This is for our sheriff's department.
I will move on administrator number 3.
Second. Discussion. Roll call.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
Mr. Hawes?
Yes.
Mrs. Harless?
Yes.
Resolution number 4 is to authorize payment to Everbridge Inc. for Nixle used for public notifications, a system to alert Plain Township residents of emergency situations, and the amount not to exceed $5,500 to be paid from 09807.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Roll call.
Mr. Hawes?
Yes.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
Mrs. Harless?
Yes.
Thank you. Item number 5 is a resolution to authorize payment to Kurth Brothers for the August 2020 yard waste removal in the amount not to exceed $4,495 from Fund 01A265.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Roll call.
Mr. Hawes?
Yes.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
Mrs. Harless?
Yes.
And that's the end of the administrative report.
A whole sheet almost dedicated to Chief here today.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, I told him that's all I got.
Don't trip over your papers back there. That takes us to the fire department. A lot of good things
Yes,
here.
item number 1 is our monthly report.
Chief, how much did you guys end up raising on the fill the boot? I mean, I know you guys.
We had almost $5,000 just from that one day.
Wow, and it was just a few hours. It was
Plus they had the virtual stuff, and I think that's still
Ticking
ongoing.
along.
But it was like 7,500 when they got all done with the
because
virtual.
our guys were they were the first in the state.
Yeah,
to do
actually,
anything
we were
like
one of
that.
the very few. There was some that did, and a lot did the virtual too.
One of the hottest days of the year.
Yeah.
I remember
Yeah, it
going
was
out there, I was
good.
like, oh.
Good stuff.
All right, thank you. Item number 2 is a resolution to authorize the purchase and payment of 2 Ford 550 DLS ambulance prep packages, labor and accessories for 2 remount ambulance for the patient care transport compartment areas from MedWorks DBA Crossroads Ambulance, not to exceed $350,000 to be taken from the COVID Cares Fund number 14A04B.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Roll call.
Mr. Hawes?
Yes.
Mrs. Harless?
Yes.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
Item number 3 is a resolution to authorize the approval of payment to TSC Incorporated for maintenance contract for our fit test machine not to exceed $4,861.73.
So moved.
Second.
Second, Mr. Sabo. Discussion. Roll call.
Mr. Hawes?
Yes.
Mrs. Harless?
Yes.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
Item number 4 is a resolution for permanent purchase and payment of installation for a new sidewalk at 1742 Schneider, in the amount not to exceed $5,200 per attached quote.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Roll call.
Mr. Hawes?
Yes.
Mrs. Harless?
Yes.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
Item number 5 is a resolution to authorize the purchase and installation of one natural gas generator at 2625 25th Street, which is our Station 3, in an amount not to exceed $17,000 to be taken from Fund 21A02K.
I will move on FD number 5.
Second discussion, just to clarify, this is replacing a very old unit where we were going to end up in the sizable dollar amount just in some repairs, and it still doesn't take into account all of the other parts that are still of age. And
Yeah, it's a 20-plus-year-old generator,
The
and
original.
repairs were almost half of what a new one was, and we just didn't think that the overall cost was worth the replacement of
any further discussion? Roll call.
Mr. Hawes?
Yes.
Mrs. Harless?
Yes.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
Item number 6 is a resolution by Plain Township Board of Trustees to take from the Corona's Relief Fund not to exceed $51,000 for 2 power load systems to Stryker EMS.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? Roll call.
Mr. Hawes?
Yes.
Mrs. Harless?
Yes.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
Item number 7 is a resolution by Plain Township Board of Trustees to authorize the purchase and payment to Classical Construction to construct a 24-by-40 storage building, including material and labor at 2855 Eastman Street, not to exceed $46,000 per attached quote.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? Roll call.
Mr. Hawes?
Yes.
Mrs. Harless?
Yes.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
Item number 8 is a resolution to promote Andrew Skolmich and Ethan Lowry from part-time status to full-time status as they've effectively completed their Ohio Police and Fire pension, physical, wage and benefits to be according to the collective bargaining agreement.
I will move on FD number 8.
I will second. Discussion? Roll call.
Mr. Hawes?
Yes.
Mrs. Harless?
Yes.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
Item number 9 is a resolution by the Board of Trustees to authorize purchase and payment of one evergreen UV light system to Crossroads Ambulance and not to exceed $2,600 to be taken from COVID CARES Fund 14A04B.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? Roll call.
Mr. Hawes?
Yes.
Mrs. Harless?
Yes.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
Item number 10 is a resolution by the Plain Township Board of Trustees to authorize the purchase and payment of 4 upgrade kits for power cots from Stryker EMS in the amount not to exceed $8,000 and to be taken from COVID CARES Fund number 14A04B.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? Roll call.
Mr. Hawes?
Yes.
Mrs. Harless?
Yes.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
Item number 11, resolution by Plain Township Board of Trustees to authorize Doug Mahali Plumbing to install 13 automatic faucets and 11 automatic urinal flushes at not to exceed $10,000 to be taken from Fund 14A08B, which is a COVID CARES number.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? Roll call.
Mr. Hawes?
Yes.
Mrs. Harless?
Yes.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
And item number 12 is a resolution to accept the resignation of Michael J. Hinkle as a part-time firefighter paramedic effective October 13, 2020, per attached resignation letter.
I will move on FD number 12.
Second. Discussion? Roll call.
Mr. Hawes?
Yes.
Mrs. Harless?
Yes.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
Thank you. Sorry for the lengthy.
Now you can take a deep breath.
I was going to challenge him to 5 minutes or less, and he did it under that, so hey. Road Department, Mr. Iacino.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, item number 1 is the September monthly report. You see our new gravel bucket in action and the yard waste.
It's going to make things a little more expedient.
Yeah, we're probably lifting close to twice as much. That's very well.
Questions, go ahead.
Item number 2 is a resolution by the Plain Township Board of Trustees to enter into an agreement with the Stark County Commissioners for the Hills and Dales Avondale Storm Sewer Project, not to exceed the amount of $58,442 from Fund 3C3 contracts.
I will move on road number 2.
Second. Discussion.
Yeah, there's going to be 2 that you have to sign, and then I'll get it back to the county. The project won't start construction until January. Our portion probably won't get done until school's closed in June, because they got to go across the school parking lot. So it'll be later next year before this payment will be due on it.
We've been waiting on this one for a long time, haven't we?
Yes, quite a few years.
Yeah.
And our price came back so good because the bid came in.
Yeah.
Any further discussion? Roll call.
Mr. Hawes?
Yes.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
Mrs. Harless?
Yes.
And item number 3, just I want to thank Paul Burke and Eric Haynes for their sidewalk engineering and installation of all the new lights we put around our new salt buildings. It's really going to make things better for the drivers when they're backing in this building. They did a fantastic job. You need to come and see that when it's all lit up.
See, I've seen it by video, and it looks pretty impressive.
Yes, they did a great job. And item number 4 is a resolution based upon advice of legal counsel and our own research and understanding of coronavirus relief funding. Make the following motion to authorize the purchase of auto flush handle adapters for urinals, laboratory touchless sinks, kitchen touchless sinks, stainless steel mop sink, faucets from Doug Malloy Plumbing, LLC, on amount not to exceed $3,480 from Fund 14A04B.
So moved.
Second. Second for
That was the,
Bill.
I was going to say, flip a coin on that
That was a
We're
tie.
innocent.
one. Roll call.
Mr. Hawes?
Yes.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
Mrs. Harless?
Yes.
And that completes the early part. Thank you.
Thanks, Joe. It's going to take zoning. Tom?
Thank you, sir. Item number 1 is the monthly report.
Anybody got any questions? Good.
Item number 2 is a resolution to declare items A through E as nuisance abatements.
I will so move on zoning 2A through E.
Second.
Discussion. Roll call.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
Mr. Hawes?
Yes.
Mrs. Harless?
Yes.
Item number 2 is a resolution to declare items A through K as nuisance abatement payments.
I will so move.
Second.
Discussion. Roll call.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
Mr. Hawes?
Yes.
Mrs. Harless?
Yes.
And that's all for zoning.
I know I've told Vince, but I just, for public record too, I appreciate him keeping the whole Edelweiss situation back there since I got on that pretty hard and heavy, probably a month and a half ago. They're making headway back there. I mean, it's not gonna be, new looking, but a lot of the brush, debris, the whole 9 yards has been getting cleaned out.
A little bit more presentable.
Yeah, and there's still a way to go, but, I mean, he's gonna start working on structure stuff next, because, I mean, even though the one's a carport, I mean, there's holes in the roof that, I mean, they're low enough, somebody climbs on, thinking they're gonna play around, somebody could get hurt, so, I mean, it won't become a Mecca destination, but it's becoming a drastic improvement over what it was, and I know the car wash and then Sunshine Medical have already made comments that they're noticing it, so appreciate those continued efforts. Okay, Parks Department, where'd Tommy go?
I wish you
Oh,
would.
sorry, Mr. Steinberg.
Item number 1 is the monthly report.
Okay, no questions?
Okay, item number 2 is a resolution of the Plain County Board of Trustees, Stark County, based on advice of council and our own research and understanding of the coronavirus relief funding, to approve a blanket purchase order retroactive to 4/27/20 to be opened in an amount not to exceed $9,100 to be taken from Fund 01F08L for farmers market vendor reimbursement to the cancellation with COVID.
I will so move.
Second,
Discussion, roll call.
Mrs. Harless,
yes.
Mr. Sabo,
Yes.
Mr. Hawes,
Yes.
Thank you. Item number 3, be hereby resolved by the Plain County Board of Trustees, Stark County, Ohio, based on the advice of council and our own research and understanding of coronavirus relief funding, to reimburse the following fund numbers and amounts listed below for shelter refund to the COVID-19 shutdown and cancellation.
So moved.
Second,
Discussion, roll call.
Mrs. Harless,
yes.
Mr. Sabo,
Yes.
Mr. Hawes,
Yes.
Thank you. Item number 4 is a resolution by the Plain County Board of Trustees to approve purchase and payment to Mid-States Recreation for 3 picnic tables in an amount not to exceed $3,773 to be taken from Fund 14A08B to comply with COVID-19 guidelines of social distancing.
I'll move on Parks 4.
Second,
Discussion, roll call.
Mrs. Harless,
yes.
Mr. Sabo,
Yes.
Mr. Hawes,
Yes.
Thank you. Number 5 is a resolution by the Plain County Board of Trustees to hire Nicholas Hendricks at a rate of $10 per hour with no benefits to be taken from Fund 14A01B and 14A01A in the Parks Department effective October 18, 2020, as a soccer supervisor in the cleaning facility at Fabulous Sports Complex in accordance with state and local health department guidelines.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion, roll call.
Mrs. Harless,
Yes.
Mr. Sabo,
Yes.
Mr. Hawes,
Yes.
Thank you. Item number 6 is a resolution by the Plain County Board of Trustees to assign additional duties to Brianna Schweikert and Joe Conrad effective 10/18/20 at their current rate of pay in the Parks Department to specifically clean restrooms, take temperatures, and sanitize the facility in a manner set forth by the Stark County Health Department as related to the COVID-19 guidelines to be taken from Fund 14A01B and 14A01A.
So moved.
Second,
Discussion, roll call.
Mrs. Harless,
yes.
Mr. Sabo,
Yes.
Mr. Hawes,
Yes.
Thank you. That concludes the part.
I think you did that in one breath.
Go to our law director, Mr. Williams.
Thank you, sir. Just one item on the agenda. I have an item to rescind Home Rule 1400, which is the Plain Township Property Maintenance Code.
I will so move on law director number 1.
I'll second for the sake of discussion.
So discussion,
Yeah, it's one of those things that historically has not been of great use to us. In fact, I'm not sure we've ever taken a case all the way through to trial on it. In addition to that, as I've talked, I know to at least some of you about individually, there's some issue in how it would be applied, and we're a little bit concerned when we had the conversation, a little bit concerned about the ability of those to even pay to get the things done that would need done, and how that application is made across different socioeconomic strata in the township.
well, I know, having been here, this was something that one of the prior board members, Lou, had come up with, and honestly, I was in support of it as much as he was of the idea at the time, because really what we were dealing with was the fallout from the 08
Right.
real estate bubble burst, and there was, the original intent was the commercial property, but then we were really starting to see more of the residential side, gutters and downspouts hanging to, just the gamut of things. And I think the intentions were well-spirited. Unfortunately, the teeth or the lack of teeth, and it was really the disappointment and so forth. Because, no different than, one of the prior examples I've already referenced tonight. If that thing would have had some teeth, that would have been a tool that we would have leaned into probably a while back to remedy some of the challenge. But to have just a token piece of papers worthless in my book, so strip it out, rescind it. I mean,
Yeah, I was fire chief when all that was going on, and I remember it, and there's a world of difference sitting in the fire chief's chair as to how all that's going to be facilitated compared to sitting in these chairs. And I would agree, it sounded like a good idea, and unfortunately, after serving in this position, I know what it's like to try to deal with neighbors. And, you know, we realize we have neighbors that are irresponsible, disrespectful, inconsiderate,
agitators,
whatever you want to call it. And it's extremely difficult to put things in a law or a code that can be enforced to regulate that type of behavior. And I think it's a good idea that we rescind it, because it shouldn't be used as a tool for somebody to say, well, there it is, now you enforce it, when in reality, we know that we can't in the first place. So I think we should just rescind it.
I think
the intentions were really good.
I think the prudent thing, just as we would do with any other part of an operation, if there's something new that comes about that would give us teeth and prove to be a best practice, we look at it then, because honestly, I mean, there's still, I mean, some of the stuff that Tom's dealt with collapsed and buckled out houses. We've been fortunate in those situations where we've had folks that have said, hey, we'll work with you because the board's shown a working relationship, but we also are not naive enough to think that there's not folks out there that'll just thumb their nose. So if the right tool comes along at a future point, look at it. Otherwise, any further discussion?
Other than to agree with that portion, I think that it's important we have the right tool. I think we can safely say after having this on the books for 12 years, it's not. And I think we could, if you guys are interested in pursuing something different, I'm happy to look at that.
Okay. No further discussion, roll call.
Mr. Hawes?
Yes.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
Mrs. Harless?
Yes.
Okay, takes us to communications, and turn that over for the first one to Ms. Campbell.
Actually, Mr. President, if you could read that, I don't have a copy here in the audience.
Okay, the subject reads appreciation for the Veterans Memorial Park from Sharon to Rob Steinberg, with a carbon copy to Marcia Cohen. Dear Rob, the North Canton Garden Club wishes to thank you and the Plain Township staff for the impressive and well-planned Veterans Park. We are proud to be part of the beautiful tribute to our veterans. Thank you for caring for the Gold Star Memorial marker, sustaining its beauty as our community continues to recognize the veterans. We believe the addition of the 2 memorials placed at the Gold Star Memorial marker emphasizes the ultimate sacrifice of the military families and the military men and women who serve our country. Sincerely, North Canton Garden Club, Sharon Van Vorst, Gold Star Memorial Chairman. I think this just personally reinforces the clearly defined and intentional layout that we have over there, and the story that each piece is telling along the way. Clearly the story we tell may have a little bit of different meaning to everybody, and that's part of what that is, your own interpretation, but you know, that hillside's happened because of a number of different community stakeholders, whether it's students at the school to, you know, the veteran who designed the Keystone Monument to, you know, contractors who have done site grading, to lay and block, the whole 9 yards. It really is a awesome asset to have over there. So.
They were a good partner of ours. They were great to work with in getting that done.
Second communication, Trustee Harless.
Yes, I wanted to actually say thank you to Rob and Eric for helping with the side street market and getting that organized, and the vendors were so appreciative with the golf carts that they could use to transport stuff and to work with everybody. It looked like a really good turnout. I was there every week, and everybody was happy. It was family friendly, and the dogs that were coming to visit, and every vendor had quite a lot of business. It was enjoyable to see. We were blessed with the weather. I also wanted to say thank you to Chief for the trunk or treat. I loved that setup with the games, everything, the bags, my kids loved it, and I know that there were a lot of kids in cute costumes that were running to go and see, and it was very appreciative. So thank
Say
you.
I was bummed. I would echo the same comments to you guys, because I think I hit the first 2 weeks of it, and then out of town last week, so pictures look like it was a heck of an attendance. And Chief, you said you guys had like 250, 300 bags, and you were still packing some additional ones?
Yeah, we had help
On
from
site.
Parks and actually some family, extended family there to help us pack more bags. We ran out originally, and we actually stuffed them on the front of the truck there and made like 100 more bags. So about
I don't know.
350 bags that we gave out.
My kids were hopping, they were off full of sugar high, and as per the previous communications by Sharon Van Boris, that is a family member. My aunt is a Van Boris that raised me, and they are very much appreciative of everything that you guys have done with Dutchman Park. So, thank you.
Nothing else on our communications. That's going to take us a portion of the meeting. Public speaks. Anybody wish to address the board? Traffic laws? He's like, Mom, you
He's
bring
like-
me here again?
I know.
I really don't like it.
I know, every time there's a punishment, I'm afraid.
All right, nothing on our public speak. It's going to take us to concerns of trustees. Do either of you have anything? I don't know if you had seen, I just, for the record, I think it was actually something Tom shared initially earlier today. The new Libby Yoho, is it cosmetics or what? They're going to
Yeah.
have a grand opening.
Oh, no, it's
Saturday, I think it is.
Saturday.
It's
Is that-
a 5 to 8.
Place? Eyebrow?
Eyebrows, yeah.
All right, yeah. So just for the sake, it's another plaza business. It's
Okay.
opening, not that, there's any services in there that I'll be able to use, but, township business, maybe we're showing up to.
And if you guys go, if you could take any pictures that we could put in the newsletter, that would be great too. I'll try to stop over too.
Do you know the hours, Tom?
It's 5 to 8.
5 to 8.
And it's tomorrow?
No, it's
Saturday.
Saturday, the 17th, 5 to 8.
Are they doing any sort of ribbon cutting, or they're just having an open
It
house?
just said grand
Grand
opening.
prizes,
So,
raffles.
yeah, have some food and stuff, so. That was the only thing I had. Anything else? Concerns of the fiscal officer?
No concerns.
It's going to take us to the approval of the minutes for September 22nd, 2020, and I will so move.
Second.
Discussion, roll call.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
Mr. Hawes?
Yes.
Mrs. Harless?
Yes.
Okay, there is a need for executive session, so I'll make a motion, be it hereby resolved by the Plain Township Board of Trustees, Stark County, Ohio, to adjourn to executive session at 7:50 or 6:57 PM from this regular meeting as authorized under Ohio Revised Code 121.22G for the purpose of the consideration of 1A, appointment of a public employee or official, 1B, employment of a public employee or official, 1F, compensation of a public employee or official.
Second.
Discussion, roll call.
Mr. Hawes?
Yes.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
Mrs. Harless?
Yes.